Hey y'all,
What's going on, everyone?
I'm Jay,
Now I'm Chris the Bird Nerd,
and
and
we
we
are
are
the
the
Bird
Bird
Brain.
Brains.
You know what I need to do that I haven't done in a while? And it's funny because
What?
I watch them all the time, sort of, because I put them on for Einstein, but I need to go back and watch our early episodes. How did we come up with the We Are the Bird Brains thing? Was that your idea?
No, I think it was your idea.
I don't remember.
Maybe I don't
Did we
either.
do that from the beginning, or did we figure that out a few
No,
episodes in?
I think it was a few episodes in that we figured it out, and we had got our mugs, our Bird Brains mugs, to toast to it when we said it. But yeah, I want to say it was your idea, maybe. I don't know. I can't remember.
I was
But yeah, it
telling
was a few
somebody about
episodes in.
the podcast this weekend, and they were, did it have a name? And it's like, yeah, Bird Brains podcast, and I didn't have this all the time, but they were like, oh, that's good. And I was like, I can't for the life of me remember how I mean, I don't know. I gotta go. I feel like we talked about it in the episode, so I gotta go rewatch them and figure
Yeah,
out
we'll have
how we
to.
figured it out.
I know at least as far as the title goes. I mean, we were just bouncing around ideas and generating different logos and things like that, and the Bird Brains just kind of like formulated after a few versions of what we wanted our design and logo to be like, and it just kind of fit into place. But
Well, we've been at this for over a year.
that's
Um,
crazy, man.
And I know
Yeah,
that because the first episode we recorded was on my son's due date.
that's
And
right.
we recorded it and then later that night went to the hospital and had my son. And his birthday was almost a month ago, his first birthday.
That's
So we've
crazy.
been at this for like, yeah, a year and a month and not trying to slow down. We've had a tough couple of months here lately. We
Yeah.
haven't been up to our normal cadence, but we're trying to get back ahead of that. And But yeah, this has been awesome. And one thing that it's really done, I know, Chris, you told me it's happening the same to you. The amount of people that are reaching out and asking questions has
Yeah.
really increased, and I love that. I did a post on my Instagram about it the other day, how awesome it is. The one problem I am having is like if multiple people are asking me about the same problem at the same time. Like I've got a couple people right now with feather mite issues
Okay.
and they're asking me what to do about it, and I can't remember. They're having almost the exact same problem, and so I can't remember which one I've given, like step one and which one's on step
Yeah.
three. So I have to like scroll back through the text and make sure I'm saying the right thing to the right person at the right time. But um, one thing that we consistently get asked all the time is like, should I get this species, or worse, arguably, I just got this species. What do I do? And so today's episode is going to be what to do when you're getting a new species.
It's gonna be amazing.
The Bird Brains Podcast with Chris and Jay. The Bird Brains Podcast with Chris and Jay. The Bird Brains Podcast with Chris and Jay. Bird Brains, Bird Brains. The Bird Brains Podcast with Chris and Jay. The Bird Brains Podcast with Chris and Jay. The Bird Brains Podcast with Chris and Jay. Bird Brains, Bird Brains.
Okay, before we get into the new species episode, let's talk bird brains, perchbox. Let's talk New Zealand. You give them
Yeah,
the rundown.
let's do it. I'm I'm just gonna start off with a challenge right now, Jay. If you guys haven't gone to newzealand.com while you're watching this podcast, get on the internet, go on to newzealand.com, see what products they've got. They've sponsored Jay and I for several months now, close to at least coming up on at least probably a half a year, right? And so um, they have constantly been putting new products into their catalog. They have a huge array. That their focus is a one-stop shop. So they're everything from large hookbills from your macaws all the way down to your finches. They also have a reptile section. They're looking at adding a fish section. So it really is a one-stop shop. They've been great sponsors for us. Jay and I are constantly trying to highlight some of the products that they have in their catalog throughout our channels, throughout this podcast. So go in right now, check out the website, newzealand.com. Use the code Birdbrains for 10% off, and or subscribe to the Birdbrains Perch Box so you guys can get monthly boxes coming through that give you a variety of different nutritional products, toys, nesting supplies, etc. That really, the price for all those items that you get each month, you can't beat it. If you're buying that stuff individually, outside of New Zealand, anywhere, it's going to be twice the cost. And so it really is pretty cool to get a lot of those things in at a really good, affordable price. So go check them out. Try it out right now. newzealand.com. Use that code Birdbrains for 10% off, and or subscribe to the Birdbrains Perch Box, and let us know. Let us know what your experience was like and some of the things that you guys got for your birds. We'd love to hear it and share what you guys have got and your experience through that, throughout our videos, and continue to highlight the benefits from that. So
Absolutely. Yeah, they're awesome and they've got awesome stuff. Go check them out. Yeah, so um I know this spring Chris has gotten, I know, at least two new species, right? So we just did an episode about Candy the macaw. And I think we pretty well covered that. We also did a video on the leather elves talking about the story of how Candy came into our lives.
yeah,
Um, but Chris also got some plumhead parakeets. And then
yeah,
I also am up a new species, which I don't know if I guess Chris does know because I definitely talked to him about it. But I have started my journey with the bronze wing mannequins, which get out of quarantine. I'll be home. Let's see, we're filming this episode on a Tuesday. I'll be home Thursday and they'll be in the aviary on Friday. They'll be done with quarantine.
heck yeah,
So,
heck yeah. How
yeah,
many pairs did
excited.
you get, Jay? How many bronze wings did you get?
So I kept two pairs, so I've got
Okay,
four.
nice.
Um, yeah, really excited about it. So, um, and then I sent a pair to my one of my friends who's JL Exotics on Instagram if you want to go check her out. She also got
I
a
think
great
I've
quail
yeah,
page.
I think I've seen her
She's also who I
page.
sent Bandit and Smokey to for retirement and my budgies. And Bandit was always super tame. He talked, sits on finger, all this. If I kept his son, I'm gonna breed his son and a new mate this year. Um, Smokey, the hen, I mean, she was super skittish. Wouldn't the only time I ever held her is if I caught her in the net to like trim her nails or something. And
Yeah,
she's got, as of the other day, she's got it posted on her page. She's got Smokey perched on her finger eating millet. So
nice.
she rocks. But
Good for her. That's
yeah,
awesome.
really makes me happy. They're in a budgie flock now. They're in a loving home. It's a bunch of rescue budgies and then them.
Very
Um,
cool.
and I appreciated that she distinguished as like this was a very thought out choice. I wanted, I don't really have the room to have old retired birds, but Bandit's my boy. I got him as a, really a just, fledged baby, and I didn't want him to just go somewhere. So, made that work great. But, I got her a pair of bronze wings too. So, um,
Nice.
but what we're going to talk about today is what I did before that happened. Right. And so I guess that's the first thing I'll highlight is there's basically two options when you get a new bird species. Either you get the birds and then you try to figure it out, or you figure it out ahead of time and then get the birds. And sometimes, like, I mean, Candy's kind of an example of this. Sometimes life comes at you fast. And
Yeah,
so if you're able to, I highly recommend doing the homework like we always talk about up front, but sometimes you can't.
yeah,
Um, and so what are the things you do, Chris, when you know you're getting a new species or you've got a new species or you're planning for a new species?
yeah. And I would even, before I answer that, Jay, with Candy, if it was even 2 3 years prior, and this opportunity came up, I probably would have said no, just because I didn't feel ready, right? And I didn't want to have buyer's remorse, per se, and jump into something. I've been doing a lot of research on these big birds for a long time and trying to figure out when was that right time. But yeah, when you're getting a new animal, we mostly talk about the birds. like Jay said, it's important to do your homework, understand what you're getting into, what is the temperament of these animals, what is the space requirement of these animals. If you're getting a finch, you get little tiny finches like Jay's bronze wings, and the requirements as far as like the housing and the size of the wire and all that stuff plays a big role because they're so small they can escape really easy, right? Whereas if you get a big macaw like Candy, I've got to take into consideration three times the size of cage. Is the wire strong enough? The noise, the mess, all that goes into it. Just the expenses of care, right? Buying seed and veggies and fruits and etc. to feed them. So it really is something that we want you guys to take the time to do the research to get into it before you just jump into it. Jay, you'd mentioned that I got some plum heads this year. I've wanted them for a long time. Actually, in my video that I put that out, I asked people, I said, hey, many videos ago, I said, once I get to a certain point of subscribers, I'm going to try and that'll be my encouragement to try and reach or get some plum heads. And it still took me 7 months before I felt comfortable after I had reached that mark before I felt like I could get the plum heads, right? And the reason for that is they're bigger, they're a hookbill. Most of your hookbills don't mix well with finches, and I had planned to try and cohabitate them to some extent. I wanted to make sure I had the right nest boxes. I wanted to make sure I had the right size flight and exactly what I'm going to do for them and take care of them. And so I even still had to do my homework and research on that and make sure it was a good fit before I just jumped in and bought them because they're beautiful birds and I've wanted them for a really long time. But I also want to make sure that I'm not putting the rest of my birds in danger or the plumheads in danger because I didn't think it through and now they're harming each other or fighting with each other because I'm trying to cohabitate them. And actually, I currently have the plumheads by themselves, but they've got a pretty easy temperament and can be mixed with smaller birds, which is why I have them truthfully. But yeah, I mean, do your research, see what you need to get cage wise, food wise, etc. before you jump into it. Because many times, if you don't do that, you don't expect what happens, and then you're usually trying to get rid of the birds just because you weren't ready to have them,
Or worse, right? Or they're not there anymore. They're
or
dead.
they're not there anymore. Exactly.
Right. And so, like, so two examples here. So we actually, a few episodes ago, we had somebody comment, like, kind of unrelated to the topic and say, hey, someone offered me a pair of Cuban melodious finches. Um, can they go in my mixed aviary? I think they said they're like, I have star finches, zebra finches, and society finches. And I didn't see the comment. YouTube's we will see it eventually, but that Instagram or Facebook Messenger are the best ways to get a faster response from us. Between when she commented and when I saw it was like 2 days. I was just busy. I just didn't get to my YouTube comments. And so then I'm quickly, and those of you who know are laughing, quickly typing back, don't get those, don't get those. And and the reason is Cuban finches, very beautiful, beautiful song, also murder birds, right? So
Yeah,
not
very
only do
aggressive.
they really not get along with themselves, as in two male Cubans won't hang out together, they also are very violent towards a lot of other birds, if not most other birds.
And in
Very,
particular, birds with yellow.
yeah, and so or really orange, right? Yellow or close to
Yeah,
yellow. So like starfinches with that kind of light green or sometimes yellow-bodied stars, that's a big old problem.
yeah,
So um and that person wisely said, in the meantime, I commented and then she replied back, oh, don't worry, I already said no. And I got a big smile on my face. I was like, look, sometimes the best thing you can say is no or not yet,
yeah. Yep.
right? Like we talked about in the last episode with Candy, go slow. But with the bronze wings, look, I've been keeping finches close to 30 years now, and I have a pretty good understanding of most of the finches that are kept in captivity, certainly in the United States. I know basic finch care requirements. I've bred thousands of birds. I'm pretty good at this finch thing. Before I started this new species, I still did a ton of research. I still did, I always call it, and this is kind of just a metaphor. This doesn't exactly mean I went there, but I would say like I go to page three of Google, right? So you read everything that comes up on the first page and the
Yep.
second page and the third page. And now you're really getting into the meat of it. But I also talked to other people that had kept bronze wings, talked to people that had bred bronze wings, uh, every website I could find that talked about it, talked to the person I was getting them from about it, and then still had a lot of kind of contingency plans. Okay, what if I get these birds and they're more aggressive than I was expecting, or what if I get these birds and they're not healthy, right? So you have your quarantine, and then you still kind of want to have a plan for, like as an example, I've got a bork. Borks are normally super chill. I've got a bork that
Yeah.
likes to kill baby finches for whatever reason. So
Yep.
now he and his mate, who he gets along with great, they have to live in a cage by themselves. If I didn't have that cage, what would I do with those birds? I couldn't keep them. So you've got to have kind of, you don't want to be right at your capacity,
Yep.
right? So all those things to be considered, different diets, different preferences, they're different, behavioral characteristics. All these things have to be factored in,
Yeah.
preferably ahead of time.
One thing, Jay, that I strongly recommend to people, if you're getting into birds for the first time, and many times people will come to my house and I'll show them my aviary and they love it and they want a bird right away. They're like, man, these birds are beautiful. I want to be able to like hear them sing. This is awesome. And then I said, well, hold on. First, let's look at a couple things. And I'll walk them into my shed and I'll say, look how messy they are. I said, I just cleaned it. Saturday mornings are my clean day. And I'll clean them on Saturday. By Wednesday or Thursday that very next week, it looks like I haven't touched them for a month, right? I mean, because they are just messy animals. I said, that's the first thing I show them. I say, look at this. Um, are you sure you want a mess like this that you're going to be cleaning up every week or every day, depending on if it's in your house or where it's at? And then now I bring them in and show them Candy and let them hear how loud she is. And I say, do you want a bird that's this loud? And then also show 'em my canaries. My canaries can get pretty loud in breeding season with the male singing, right? So I try to show them. So my advice would be if you're looking to get a bird, um, and you have some people, some connections nearby that you can go and they have birds and you can kind of go and see and learn from them, pick their brains, ask them questions, because they can usually, hopefully, would help you understand, okay, this is what you're really getting into, and this is what you would need before you buy the bird. So let's get you set up in the right way, make sure you have the right cages, etc. And then once you feel like you're good there, then you can dive into it. And even if it's just like what you said, Jay, you get new species and you've had lots of other birds in the past for a long time, like still do your research on that species because that particular bird, like the Cuban melody finch, they can offset the whole community of your birds, just due to their temperaments and things like that. And so just making sure that they're always a right fit. And I, you know, you don't want to regret later on getting the wrong bird at the wrong time. So do your homework and make sure you're doing it right.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's all really well said. Yeah, it's not, a lot of this is not overly complicated, at least to me. It is, a lot of it is getting in the right rhythm, getting on a schedule, being consistent, figuring it out, and then working to always improve that.
Yeah.
And I would feel that way if I was keeping just a pair of zebra finches in a cage in my living room or this big aviary that I have now. But the reality of it is, and I'm not like a PETA, no animals should be pets, frou person. Obviously, I have pet birds. They are living things. We are stewards of them, and they deserve good stewardship.
Yeah.
So just like you wouldn't, have a human kid, and I've got human kids, I'm not comparing the two. Having kids is a whole different level, but the, you know, you hopefully you're not having a kid on a whim with no plan. Don't get into birds and new species and all these things on a total whim. I'm not saying don't go out and get a pair of birds and learn and figure it out. I'm just saying, you don't need a doctorate degree in finches, but, you know, find a
Yeah.
mentor, use your resources. We've got a whole episode on here about how to do your homework. Watch that episode, take that advice. So before you dive head first in and you're like, well, I got purple grenadier wax bills, and now they've killed all my other birds. How could this happen? Or
Yeah.
pin-tailed whitas, right? What do you mean they can't live with my Gouldians? Well, they don't get along with everybody.
Yeah.
So figure this stuff out, do the best you
And
can, and we're here if you have questions too.
yeah, and I think Jay, I want us to, a lot of what we're saying is almost like don't get a bird. We want you to get the birds. Obviously, that's why we have podcasts. That's why we have birds. We're trying to promote them and how much fun they really are. We really do love our birds. We enjoy them. There's so many different benefits that you can get from just owning a bird. In my personal life and my friends' life, I mean, anybody that comes to my house, they have a good experience because of my birds. Truthfully,
Yeah, I
um,
agree. Same.
I would just say, be smart. If you're new to birds, get your generic, your zebra finch, your budgie, birds that are easier to house, maintain. They're a little bit more forgiving, so that you can get used to what that's like. Many times we go to pet stores or we go to the zoos or whatever it is, and we see these beautiful birds that they have. They're colorful. They're they sing beautiful things like that, and we want to get them, and we drop hundreds if not thousands of dollars on this bird without knowing the care, and they have a very specific regimen and nutritional uh, diets and things like that you have to follow, and then those birds end up dying, and a month or two into you owning them, and then you're out a lot of money, you're frustrated, and it wasn't a very good experience. So just make sure that work your way into it, like Jay said, have patience. And then if you are experienced, then yeah, then start getting into the more experienced birds and species, because we need that,
I was going to say,
especially in American agriculture. We need that so that we can continue the captivity of these species and the longevity of them for years to come. Like, I want my kids and my grandkids to enjoy cordon blues and some of the species that are really hard to find and to breed right now. But I want to, make sure that you have the experience first before you just dive into that, because more times than not, it ends up in a frustrating situation for you and for the bird.
yeah, I want everybody who's watching this podcast to have birds. I will do everything I can to help you have birds. Like
Yeah.
you're talking about, especially the advanced species. Like that old World War II poster of Uncle Sam. I want you for the U.S. Army. I want you for the bird brain army. But I want you to have a good experience. I want the birds to have a good experience so that by the time you're ready to take that big leap, you haven't given up or gotten frustrated or kind of lost the love that I have for this hobby. I mean, I don't know who I'd be without it. Not as fun. I'd
Same.
be a crazy person or depressed or something. Um,
I'd be a cat
birds,
person. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, I like cats too, but something about birds, man, they're just the best.
They're fun. They're fun.
So yeah, this isn't a don't get birds episode by any means. This is a take the time to do it right so that it does right to you
And
episode.
then reach out to Jay and I, and we will get you the birds you need or want, or get you into contact with the person that owns those birds. We've got a pretty big network within the United States. Just between Jay and I, we could probably get you a high percentage of birds if you're looking for them.
Yeah, absolutely. We're both the best places to reach both of us are Instagram and Facebook Messenger. Obviously, YouTube in the comments is a good way to ask a question, but a tough place to have like a conversation.
Right.
Um, and then I'm also on Threads, which sucks, Reddit, and TikTok. Kinda not really loving TikTok. Um, but reach out, ask your questions. This also isn't an episode that says I don't want to hear your questions anymore. I love the questions, keep them
Yes,
coming.
please.
But I'm
Absolutely.
just saying that I shouldn't be your only resource. There's a lot of resources out there, more than you realize. Go find our episode about doing your homework. And I'll try to, Chris knows how to link them in. I haven't figured that out yet. Maybe I'll ask Chris for this episode how to link it in. But do your homework, have the right experience so that we can, recruit you into the Bird Brains army and keep
Yes.
this going for generations to come.
I like that. Do you know we need Jay? We need like an Uncle Sam bird pointing at him, the a bird brains bird pointing at him for our merch or something
Yeah,
like
that's for sure going to be
that.
the AI picture for this episode.
I love
So
that.
yeah, we do need some Bird Brains. I want you and some Bird Brains Army merch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Yes.
mean, look, this is the best hobby there is. I've tried other hobbies; they're fine. This is the best hobby. I'm
Yeah.
confident,
It's awesome.
and
It really is.
we want you to be a part of it, and we want you to have a good experience. So
Absolutely.
help us help you.
For sure. Couldn't have said it better, Jay.
All right, use code Bird Brains, get 10% off. We'll catch you all in the next one.
See you guys. Have a good one.